Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the title of my presentation. It contains three very high-level general words and a question. And my short answer to the question, yes, we can apply these three notions in emerging technologies. We even need to apply, or I would say we must apply them in the area of emerging technologies. I could even finish my presentation here, but apart from joking, let me elaborate a bit more on this. This is the small research institute I'm representing in this project. You can see the characteristics of this institute. You can see that this is a small independent research institute with a large target audience, and our task is legal evaluation with special regard to new democracies. I'm from Hungary, so Hungary is considered as a new democracy. So I would like to speak about the legal aspects. What is law? You will see here a list of general characteristics of what we understand on law. These are a set of general rules made by the lawmakers, the legitimate lawmakers, the parliamentarians, for example. And the laws apply to everyone, including the governing and the governed. In a democracy, of course, not in a dictatorship. But somehow we must say that the law has an intermediary role between ethics, which is a very undefined notion in our minds, and reality. I wouldn't say it's in the middle, but somehow it has an intermediary role. There are different interpretations of law. As we all know, different values. There are positivists, legal positivists, who say that what is legislated in a lawful manner, everything is correct, and what counts is only the written words of a law. At the other end of the scale, you can see the natural law believers, I would say, who say that a legal provision must always have a kind of universal value behind. So if we are talking about ethics, we cannot say that we are legal positivists. We should be somewhere in the scale towards to the other end. And what is about EU law? EU law is very, very bureaucratic sometimes, very difficult. But if we think that every piece of decision making is based on community law, every decision, including the decision on funding scientific research, is based on community law. And if community law is to represent values, so it's not a positivist legal system, it must reflect values, then it must be true that the ethical aspects must always be present sometime, somewhere in the EU decisions. In most cases, we feel that it's only implicit, or it's not sufficient. But you cannot say that there's no ethics in the EU decision making at all. What about the common law and the common values? EU is a sovereign entity, as we all know, kind of supranational entity, and it's based and constituted of the sovereignties of national member states. And also the same is true for the moral or ethical norms, which are constituted of the same norms of the individual member states. But these norms are not the same, neither the legal norms nor the ethical norms. So what is the solution? Shall we try to find the smallest common denominator, the ethical norms which can be found everywhere, and let's get rid of all the others which can be found only in some countries? Of course not. Or shall we try to find an average? Of course not. Then we cannot calculate in such a way. The answer is very difficult. We have institutions to deal with this problem, courts, for example, or ethical commissions and committees. But there are three fundamental elements which can be found everywhere in the EU norms. Just a few words about the rule of law, because the rule of law is not legal rules, set of legal rules. It's much more. There are two interpretations. One is the formal one. You can see that it should be clarified, and the other one based on content. that a rule of law system must protect at least some basic individual rights, and it must be applied to everyone. And our approach is closer to this interpretation. Just a brief example. Cloud computing was mentioned several times in the earlier presentations. Your data, files, and programs are not on your computer, it's somewhere in the cloud. But the question is, which law or ethics must be applied? Because we know that the law is kind of territorial. It ends at the border of a state. Of course, we have a common framework of law, but the laws are different. Also, ethical norms are different in different societies. Who is responsible for what if you use computing as services? If your storage is virtual, who is using your data? These are the main questions. This is perhaps the most popular characteristics or feature of this kind of cloud computing. You can share information very easily. You can post your videos on YouTube. But can you hurt with this other people? Yes, of course. And technology makes it easier. If you post something, an ironic piece of video, you can easily hurt others. We are using webmail, but we don't know who is reading our messages. Medical services was mentioned, but can you be in control over your data? Not necessarily. Smart shopping, it's very positive. Does anybody know what dynamic pricing means? Yes, it's a very, very kind of positive marketing thing, but it means that you will, if you are more willing to buy something, then you will see a higher price on your computer, and that leads to discrimination. And if you use virtual training platforms for soldiers, is it allowed to humiliate or torture or kill people in the virtual world, and so on? So there are many questions. Just to list the problems without discussing it, because time is very short. The new technologies are opaque, so you cannot oversee. So if you want to protect yourself, you need others to protect you, because you can't oversee. If something is too abstract, people seem to be uninterested, but only seem to be uninterested. If you ask the right questions, they have good answers. You have no experience, because the pace of development is so fast. The trust is losing its importance. Trust is a commodity. People are selling trust to you. They are saying, trust us, we are very trustful, and so on. This is the, and I'm running out of time as usual. And there are other problems, unfair practices. For example, if you advertise tools to share, distribute, and remix content from the internet, and then you criticize the user that you are stealing content from the internet, it's completely unethical. And more others. Who should solve the problems? I think all of us. You can see the roles for all of us in different. I have no time to speak about what technologists think, but this is very important. And there is a project dealing with this problem. If you want to read more about this, please go to this webpage. And I would like to say that the illusion that technology will solve social problems is simply not true, because what we are working for is to make a better future. But it can solve problems, but it creates other kinds of problems. And we are working in Etica to solve the problems in such a way. I will not read this one, these requirements. It should be built in the technologies. And let me finish, finally, really, with a personal motto, summarizing the relationship, in my view, of ethical, legal, and technological aspects. And this is that not everything is permissible, what is possible. In technology, almost everything is possible. And not everything is acceptable, what is permissible. So that's, in a nutshell, my view. Thank you very much.